Hi everyone, it's Ravi the Junior Explorer. I'm here with Killian Charles, President and CEO of Brunswick Exploration, to discuss today's news release. Killian, thank you for joining the show.
Pleasure to be on.
Excellent. So today you released that Brunswick Exploration expands its exceptional grassroots portfolio across Quebec, Labrador, and Greenland. Now, before we get into each of these new exciting projects, you have three potential company maker projects in the hopper. Two of them are getting drilled as we speak, and a third will most likely get some drilling in Q3. Most companies would sell their soul to have one of these. Why is now a good time to add to the portfolio of projects?
You know what? It's been an interesting time for lithium and for Brunswick. We're faced with a generational opportunity and a generational exploration opportunity. These things are so rare. And we want to make sure that with the team that we've built, the expertise that we have inside Brunswick Exploration, we want to leverage this opportunity and want to make sure that we are responsible, not just for one, not just for two, not just for three, but for many discoveries. And so that's why we're always trying to push as many boundaries as possible. And it's not to say that we love our current portfolio, but we have the knowledge. So it behooves us to just push as hard as we can and keep pushing the boundaries and hopefully making more and more discoveries in the portfolio.
Okay. And there's a solid base of long-term and short-term shareholders. What would you say to those detractors who may believe that Brunswick is not happy with the current program and these projects are meant really to distract?
Oh, absolutely not. This to me is completely unrelated. We are focused on Mirage. We are focused on our other discoveries, Elrond and Canipiscau. This is adding to that portfolio. Again, what we're living right now in the lithium market won't happen for a long time. If we take a step back and look at last year, for any company to make three discoveries, and when you look at the industry, for the industry to make discovery after discovery, not all of them are going to be mine, but just to make discoveries at this rate, you don't see that in gold, you don't see that in copper, you don't see that in nickel, you don't see that in any other commodity. And so we always said from the start that we want Brunswick to be the absolutely best exploration company out there. And so we're delivering that with Mirage, but we're also delivering that to provide our shareholders an absolute extreme exposure to this knowledge base we've built, to this team that we have that is second to none. And so we stand out from our peers. And to your point, they'd kill to have a project like Mirage. We'd kill to have a project like Mirage. And so we're working hard there, but we know we can do more. We know we can deliver more. This is something that we won't see again probably in our career. And so I want to make sure that Brunswick, we don't ever have any regret and say, gee whiz, I wish we would have pushed a little bit more. So absolutely not. This is not a distraction. This is just more. You got your Sunday. I'm putting the cherry on the Sunday right now. That's what it boils down to.
Okay, so talk about out of left field. I didn't see this one coming. Now, while everyone is clamoring to get a piece of the action near Patriot, Brunswick is thinking out of the box. The best way to describe this is with the Star Trek slogan, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Now, let's get into these four exciting projects. So, Quebec, you're staying within the James Bay region. And apologies if I butcher some of these names here, but Canipiscau. So this is a new area, roughly northwest of Lake Canipiscau, and northeast of the Mirage project. So it sounds like you have some familiarity with the area. Some new claims. You have 7 historic pegmatite outcrops. Very little exploration, from what I gather in the maps. Pretty interesting because it seems like this town is at the very end of the Trans-Taiga Highway. So you have some road access. You have the LeGrand hydroelectric generation stations, 1 through 4, running part through that highway. And there's a local airport. Can you tell us a little bit about what makes this project so interesting?
Yeah, look, again, it goes back to the work that we built inside Brunswick. We know where we should be looking. We've really dialed in over the last 3 years our exploration model. And so whether it's, working in James Bay, working further afield, whether it's, Northern Quebec, Labrador, Greenland, and, even maybe beyond from that, it's always been about leveraging this knowledge base. So when we see areas that we believe hold potential, we jump into it. Exploration is a numbers game. If you remember interview after interview, I always said exploration's a numbers game. Exploration is a numbers game. Let's make it work in our favor for our investors to increase discoveries, right? That's what we're trying to do inside. And so when we see this area, it was an area that historically had seen little to no exploration. It's, an area that is going to start heating up. There's already discovery being made in the general vicinity. And so we're just building upon that. It's the same thing in Nunavik, where we're now pushing beyond. In Northern Quebec, we're now pushing beyond everything else. There's historical lithium showings. No one's ever gone looking really there. Systematic lithium exploration.
Hmm.
That's what we bring to the table. We bring that systematic approach to make discoveries. Look, we made 3 last year. What if we made another 3 this year? It's just adding more to that portfolio, adding more of that BRW stamp, and bringing pride and saying, hey, look, I'm part of a group, I'm part of a team here, I'm part of a company as an investor that's trying to really push as far as possible and make as many discoveries as possible. We're not going to be happy until we have, 15 different discoveries across our portfolio. Then maybe we'll start slowing down at that point in time.
Okay, so you mentioned Nunavik. So there's a project there called Kuujjuaq, and it's roughly about 20 to 90 kilometers of the community of Kuujjuaq, and it's close to Tidewater. This is quite outstanding for me. 64 map pegmatites that are roughly between 500 meters and 2.9 kilometers in strike length. And again, this is an area where it's had very little exploration or any focus, no documented lithium discoveries, but it has a very large town, in my opinion, that part of the northern part of Nunavik. There's an airport, although it seems remote. The one thing that popped out, there's a lot of exposed rocks up there, so you must be pretty excited about that particular project.
Oh, absolutely. Again, we see all the signs. Doesn't mean that there's actually lithium, but we see always those signals that tells us, hey, this is an area that we should work in, right? And this is an area we should stake. And so we're always, thinking about, well, where's the best bang for our buck? Where's something where we can have that opportunity to make a meaningful discovery like we did at Mirage, like we did at Elrond, like we did at Canipiscau. And so, when I move into Nunavik, when I moved into this area, it's areas that we can be efficient because it's close to communities. It's areas that we can be rapid because, as you mentioned, it's exposed. So our team is able to filter and churn through these targets as rapidly as possible. We mentioned a number 60, but it's even beyond that, right? Because we're seeing more targets than when we're actually on the ground. And that's that exploration upside that we drive. Mirage had been mapped twice by government geos. All right. It had been drilled, yet no one reported the massive spodumene bearing pegmatite outcrops. It's not like they're hard to spot. Some of them are like little hills here, right? They're massive. And it'd been ignored. No one had bothered looking at it. That's that generational opportunity that I keep talking about.
Mhm.
That's why we want to keep pushing. We're going to have lots of press release on Mirage. We've been drilling all winter. It's going to be lots of fun. Absolutely.
Mhm.
There's always going to be a 10% of what we do at Brunswick, which is about, to your point, boldly going where no one has gone before. And we want to make sure that we are involved in that. We've been staking ourselves as a reputation as somebody that does exploration. Last year we explored in Manitoba, Ontario, Saskatchewan, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. No one did that.
Mhm.
For a junior to do that much work is astounding. And we want to keep doing it. We want to keep pushing that boundary as much as we can.
Okay, so let's move over to Southeast Labrador. I don't know anyone that's doing any kind of lithium exploration in Labrador. So, again, this is totally outside the box. So, you found numerous pegmatite occurrences that contain both beryl and tourmaline. So these are nice indicator minerals and highlights the potential for evolved LCD pegmatites. And there's over 19 pegmatites measuring between 500 meters and 2,000 meters in strike length. So I know Labrador has a strong mining history with Boise Bay and a couple other projects. Looks like there's some highway access. Anything you can give to the viewers in terms of what's exciting about this particular project?
Again, to your point, we're seeing indicator minerals, we're seeing that potential. Everything that we staked is close to road infrastructure. We're just trying to go after, yes, the easy fruit, but we're trying to also work in areas that people never think about. Everyone sort of tries and focuses on existing area. Look, we've done the same. We explored around Patriot just like everyone else, but we were also more than that. We want to go ahead and stake our own and build our own opportunities. And so when we looked at Labrador, we had already spent, a significant amount of work thinking about different parts of Canada. And we said to ourselves, to your point, look, there's all these great discoveries that have been made there. The geological environment is good. Why don't we go and explore in this particular neck of the woods? There's so many decent targets where we're seeing that opportunity. Again, we make a discovery of a mirage. It's hard for people to comprehend that it's if 1% of our assets actually have potential of maybe containing lithium, it's only 1% of those that get to be something like Mirage, which have a real chance of being a mine.
Mhm.
Right? Ultimately, that's what we're trying to do inside Brunswick. We're trying to find mines. It's great to find lithium, but even that for us is not good enough.
Mhm.
Trying to find the mines. And so, if we work some of our assets and they don't look like it's going to be a mine, I'll drop it. If I believe Elrond or Canipiscau is not big enough to be a mine, then I'm not going to waste our time and our investors' money working on something that doesn't have the chance. Right now, Mirage looks like it has the best shot of doing that. We're just starting off with Elrond, and to your point, we'll start Canipiscau later this year. But of course, I'm going to focus on that asset. But I'm going to keep finding that 1% of a 1% across the rest of my portfolio. Because, what's better than having one mine? It's having two potential mines.
Absolutely. So let's move over to Greenland. So this is your first project outside of Canada, and you're definitely pushing the envelope. So the project is located about 10 and between 90 kilometers of the capital of Greenland, which is in Nuuk. Over 92 mapped and interpreted pegmatites between 500 meters and 8.9 kilometers in strike length. That's crazy. You have some indicator minerals, so it contains beryl and tourmaline. And the other technical piece, so grab samples containing over 3,700 parts per million rubidium and a 9.5 KRB ratio, which indicates evolved pegmatites. So a couple things on Greenland in a second. And then you have another project, Palmut, and that's located near the community of Palmut, over 41 mapped and interpreted pegmatites. So Greenland, when I did a little bit of my research a few years back when I was wanting to get into lithium investing, the one thing that popped out is Greenland in terms of geology, seems like there's a lot of similarities to parts of Canada. Now, you've determined there's a lot of outstanding outcrop exposure, and there's been very little exploration for lithium in the country. How's the attitude towards mining in Greenland? Is it a very friendly jurisdiction? And are there very many projects out there? And how's the access?
Yeah, so look, I'll be honest with you. Greenland's an area that I've been thinking about for solid 2 to 3 years now. Um, Everything there is lined up. It's the perfect environment to make a lithium discovery. And to say very little is actually a gross exaggeration. They've never looked for lithium down there. It's always been a focus on copper, nickel, gold. There's been a VMS that has been historically mined. There's some zinc projects moving along. There's some rare earth projects as well. It's an area that has had mining in the past, that is highly supportive of mining in general. Obviously, if you're mining in a community, directly in community, they might not be interested.
Mhm.
But there's always been strong support for mining. It's a well-developed mining code. So it's a perfect area to be looking for lithium. And again, I want to emphasize that no one's taught about looking for lithium down there. Everyone's been focused on your classic copper projects, your classic nickel projects down over there, of which there's been a fair amount over the years. Um, but when we started looking at it, we always had a little bit of a gut feeling that this was an area that held that potential. And the more we started looking at it, we were almost falling out of our chair. Like that's the point it was coming at. To be finding, you know, these these structures, these pegmatites that are exactly where we want to be finding them in the right geological environment with the right footprint, to be finding all these indicator minerals, and to have had no one look for lithium in a systematic fashion. Honestly, this is, I want to say a dream come true,
Mhm.
but it's exactly the type of project that we love in Brunswick. It's close to everything that we're going to be exploring this summer there. It's close to tidewater. Everything that we're exploring over there is perfectly exposed, so it's efficient and fast to explore. And there's a lot of smoke. Got to find the fire, but my God, is there a lot of smoke right there. So it is going to be, again, something else that we can leverage, right? It is our first international foray, so we were sensitive to say the least about that. But, from our view, it's something that is easy from a Canadian perspective, in the sense that, a lot of the knowledge that we've built for lithium exploration is directly translatable. Um, First Nations, again, our expertise on that front, our openness on that front is something that we can leverage down over there. And we're really excited to be doing, we're extremely excited to be doing work down there this summer. This is
Okay.
going to be something that's going to be a lot of fun. And just, again, it's that cherry on the sundae. People are going to have lots of fun gorging down the Mirage sundae here, and they're getting all these extra sprinkles and cherries and chocolate fudge right on top.
Excellent. So Brunswick has a lot of European investors, so this must be quite exciting for them to have a project closer to home.
Oh, absolutely. Just as we were starting to do our work to stake down there, you have the president of the EU that travels with a delegation to Nuuk in Greenland, the capital of Greenland, to open an office specifically to focus on critical minerals
Wow.
in Greenland. And won't you know, timing is beautiful for us.
Excellent. So,
So, it's a lot of fun from that perspective. We're really excited to be working across our entire portfolio, but my God, from an exploration perspective, does Greenland get us nice and up and early in the morning?
and you mentioned about European Union. They're all over renewables, and there's a big push in Europe for EV. But I'm kind of the mindset, I think in the US, I don't think there's going to be a lot of projects that'll actually get off the ground because I think there's this NIMBY attitude of not in my backyard. And I think there's a lot of countries within Europe, although they're pushing for, critical minerals, they probably don't want them developed in their backyard. Um, this could be pretty huge, at least this project in Greenland, in terms of what it could mean for supply demands in Europe. What's your
Oh,
take on that?
Oh, absolutely. All these projects that we identified in Greenland, they're all next to tidewater, right? So then it's on a boat and it can reach pretty much anywhere around the Atlantic seaboard. So it's about from actually a infrastructure perspective, you can actually say that it's better than the James Bay. Granted, there's, these projects are within 10 to 100 kilometers from Nuuk. And you can say, well, Killian, I can't drive up to the project. You have to take a chopper. Fine, but it's right on tidewater. So if I make a discovery down over there, all I need to do is build a small purpose-built port to access, and then great. It's a bit of infrastructure, and I can send that spodumene con, whether it's Europe, whether it's Canada, whether it's North America, year round. It's a no-brainer from that perspective.
Mhm.
Nuuk is actually a decent sized community. It's still around 15,000 people that live there. So it's not some far remote location. They have strong ties with the Americans, being having been home historically to a number of American army bases, Air Force bases. So, this is probably one of the best areas I can personally think of to be exploring for lithium. So it's extremely exciting to see, the confluence of event where we have the geology, we have all that smoke around there, but we also have the political support to be working in some of these areas. That's exactly the type of thing that we like to see. That's why we love working in Quebec,
Mhm.
because we have that political support. All the actors are aligned to go ahead and make these things work. It's the exact same thing in Greenland. It's the exact same thing in Labrador. That's what we like to do. Well, we like to also find mines, but we're working on that. Don't worry.
Okay, and I can't imagine these projects came by accident. And I'm going to use a sports analogy. Tom Brady, in my opinion, is the greatest football player of all time, and I'm sure I'm going to catch some flack for that. What he would say made the game so easy for him is that he had the answers to the test. He'd seen thousands and thousands of hours of film. He's seen every defense, and then when he would take the field, he knew exactly what was coming. Now Brunswick's been at it for over 24 months. You've done thousands of hours of field work and added and dropped projects. You must be at a point where you have so much data that you guys have the answer to the lithium test.
Exactly. That's what we want to leverage. It goes back, why do you invest in a company? You invest in a company because they have great project. Absolutely, that's very important. You invest in a company because they have access to capital, which is important. Otherwise, they're going to be doing nothing. But you also invest in a company for the team. And that's what we have inside Brunswick. We have the team which has seen rocks. I promise you, no one has seen as many rocks as our team. We've scoured across Canada. We've scoured across the James Bay in Quebec. We have seen more pegmatite than pretty much everyone else out there in this, exploration game. And so we have the answer to that test. You're absolutely right. We know what we want to look for, we know where we want to look for, and we know how to look for it. And when you combine all of that, when you combine it with cash, when you combine it with the projects that we have, I'm sorry, but you'll be hard pressed to find any. I might be biased, but you'll be hard pressed to find anything better than Brunswick.
No, absolutely. And I'm just going to make one last comment as we kind of wrap up these new additions to the project portfolio. I would believe that you wouldn't have had these projects unless it had the potential for a world-class discovery with high-grade lithium. So everything seems to be lining up quite nicely with these new programs. So let's move on over to Mirage. Now, back in January 22nd, you started the winter drilling campaign. And in today's news release, there's a little blurb about excitedly awaiting to release our first results next month from the winter campaign. Can you give the viewers a little bit of an update on how phase two is progressing and where would you approximate the holes and number of meters drilled?
Yeah, so it's always with these things, they start a little bit slow, but now we've reached that cruising speed. So that cruising altitude. And so things are moving really well. 2 rigs turning, chewing through a lot of rocks, seeing a lot of pegmatites. We're going to start to see first assay starting next month. It's coming up real fast here, so we're right under the gun, and we are going to have a lot of fun. I think that people are going to be really happy with the work that we've been doing at Brunswick and at Mirage. We focused on, it was a little bit of a twofold program where we want to expand on the known discoveries that we've made and also finish up drilling and expanding on new discoveries that are out there, right? Other outcrops that had not been drilled. And so it's going to be a fantastic mixture of expanding on discoveries, making new ones. I think people are going to be really pleased. I'm really excited to be out there and talking about those results. You know, Mirage is going to get its, I feel that it hasn't even had its time in the sun yet,
Hmm.
right? All we've done is showcase a small little 5,000-meter program in the fall last year. Already we had great results. The lithium market was a little bit weaker, but you're starting to see strength in the lithium market again. Now's the time for Mirage to shine. You know, that 1% of 1%, that's what we're looking for, and that's what we believe we have in Mirage, and that's what we want to keep finding across the rest of our portfolio.
Awesome.
Well, let's be a little bit greedy here. Let's get everyone a little bit greedy and making more discoveries.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's move on to Elrond. So February 21st, you launch your maiden drilling campaign. And in that news release, there was mention of winterizing the road with the drill campaign beginning in March. Have the drill started turning at Elrond, and how are things going thus far?
Yeah, so they just started turning, so we're obviously, you know, much further behind relative to Mirage. And the whole point is, you know, it's great that we have an asset like Mirage because that's our measuring stick. If it's not as good as Mirage, then why would I spend $1 there? Why would I waste our investor money? I would instead rather put it on something that is as good, if or better than what we have at Mirage. And that's the point of our program. You know, we're starting with 1,000 meters, you know, whether it's a little bit more or a little bit less than that. The objective for us is just to answer this simple question. Is it better or is it worse than Mirage? And that, or it could also be as good. That's fine. But, you know, that's what we're trying to do more than anything else. We're trying to do that in a rapid and efficient program. We have so many opportunities inside this company that allows us to stand apart from our peers, right? No one has made as many discoveries. No one has, you know, worked as much ground as us. And so we want to keep leveraging, we want to keep building that and just finding more and more of these fantastic assets.
Okay. And in the heart of James Bay, Brunswick has three exciting and unique projects, each with the potential of a world-class discovery. What can we expect in the back half of 2024 as it relates to Canipiscau, Maine, and these new projects in regards to field work and potential drilling?
Yeah, so look, at the end of the day, we're going to be drilling Mirage year round. I just want to be clear that our view at Mirage is we're not planning to stop there. No matter what happens elsewhere, it's all bonus, right? I keep saying it. It's that Sunday. We're just adding cherry sprinkle and fudge on top of it here. So, you know, when it comes to Canipiscau, that's the fudge, right? We've got more work that needs to be done there. You know, there have been a number of interesting, we'll say, clues that could point us and to make potentially even new discoveries on that particular asset. So we want to do a little bit more field work before we start drilling it. You know, there's significant potential for new lithium bearing pegmatites on that particular asset. And so it's just a question, if we start drilling it, the last thing you want to do is like, well, gee whiz, I wish now that we've got, you know, done a little bit more work, we could have drilled this other target as well there, and then, you know, pay for mob and demob. Come on. We
Hmm.
want to do it right once. So that's the project there. So I would say late Q3, that's when we want to start drilling Canipiscau. Again, Mirage is going to be drilled throughout the entire year. And, you know, we're going to be working through the rest of our portfolio during the rest of the year, you know, going back out there in the field, prospecting, hopefully making new discoveries and adding those. You know, maybe we'll be talking about a new project in Nuuk that we
Hmm.
made a lithium discovery there, or maybe in Labrador, or another one in the James Bay. Just, again, building on leveraging this expertise that we have inside Brunswick.
Okay, and as we kind of near towards the wrap up here, I'd like to quickly shift gears and talk about the lithium market and the kind of current and future dynamics. We've seen this dramatic rise in the price of lithium, only to see it crater and take the juniors with it. However, it seems like we may have seen the bottom. If you were to pull out a crystal ball, where do you kind of see lithium prices as we kind of move towards the back half of 2024?
Actually, that's a great question. We're actually ahead of where I thought we were going to be. You know, the lithium market is a little bit of a quirky market because of its size. It's rapidly growing, but it's going to be exposed to these massive swings, both to the up and the downside. I actually believe that everyone's underestimating the lithium price for the second half of this year quite dramatically. If I look at, a lot of analyst quotations out there, they're in the low thousands. That's where, this was back in, let's say, February. They were saying, well, we might be 1,100 by year end or somewhere around there. We've already passed that amount. We're already in the $1,200 to $1,300 range for spodumene. I wouldn't be surprised if we finish the second half of this year around $2,000 a ton. I think that there's a lot of momentum and opportunities out there. Everything is, the lithium prices, both spodumene, carbonate, and hydroxide, have been moving very well over the past month. And so they've already gained 25% in a single month.
Wow.
Right? That's kind of shocking. 25%, that's, in theory, that's bull market all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it's awful low. That's fine. But I'm actually really excited to see the second half of this year. I'm starting to be really, really bullish. When you look at a lot of the opportunities out there, it's caused a lot of projects to not so much scale back, but delay. So, people would say, oh, the market's well balanced or it's oversupplied. It's starting to be not true. You're not seeing these DLE projects come online. You're not seeing all these spodumene mines come online the time they said they would. That's the opportunity. That's what we've been talking about for months now, since the start of the year. I've always said that. I've always been crystal clear. When you form a bear market, classically in the mining industry, you're forming your next bull market. That's what we're seeing. Exactly those things happen in action, right? You saw mine closures, which means that it restricted the amount of available concentrate out there. You're starting to see mine build delays. Again, that's a great thing. That just kicks the can and creates more supply restriction. Those are exactly the things you want to be seeing to know that we're hitting a next bull market. So actually, I'm fairly aggressive. I used to say to myself back in February, maybe we'll get to 1,200 by September. I think we'll trade flat. We've already punched through that. So now I'm saying to myself, well, wait a minute. Let's think about this objectively. Let's actually look at the market dynamics. I think it's really feasible that we're back up to $2,000 a ton spodumene. And that's going to cause a lot of wealth generation, and it's going to make projects, again, look pretty damn good. And as you attract new capital into this industry, rising tide rises all boat. We will absolutely benefit from this. And so will our investors.
Absolutely. And just the last tie into lithium and critical minerals, there seems to be a lot of mixed messages out there regarding demand for EVs and lithium. On one hand, you hear the big automakers in the US, Europe, and Japan are scrapping their plans for EVs because they're going unsold on dealer lots. And on the other side, you see the data in which EVs are seeing double-digit growth on the backs of companies like Tesla and BYD. I'd like to get your take on if EV growth and demand for lithium is sustainable, despite automakers saying they're shifting back to ICE vehicles.
You know what? First of all, they're not really shifting to ICE vehicles, or if anything, they're shifting to plug-in hybrids. I cannot underscore how much the Western OEMs are about to get screwed over by BYD.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we struggle to understand, because whether it's Ford or GM or Volkswagen, they all believe that they wanted their Tesla killer. So what did they make? They all focused on making these $100,000 cars. I will admit, there's not a much of a market. It's easy to saturate the $100,000 car market, especially at current financing rate, right? Most people finance a car. BYD could not care about that. They still make those types of cars, but they're going after the Honda Civic killer, the Toyota Corolla killer, all right? BYD, which is backed by Warren Buffett, mind you, is going after making cheap EVs, $15,000 EVs, $20,000 EVs, $25,000 EVs. They are absolutely going to destroy the competition if Ford and GM and Volkswagen and all these other Western car manufacturers don't wake up, and they're starting to do so. All of a sudden, Ford is saying like, oh, wait, we don't need to actually scramble to make a Tesla killer. We need to make a BYD killer. They're starting to to quake in their pants because yeah, there's a lot of demand out there. Just people don't want to be spending 100,000. I can't afford that. No one can afford that $100,000 car,
Mhm.
right? But if you start making $25,000 electric cars with 3, 4, 500 kilometer range, well, there's a lot of people that want that. I want one.
Yep.
I'm sure there's a lot of other people that want one out there. So no, it's not about, EV sales going down. It's about the type of EV sales, right? And when I look at that, it's actually pretty goddamn healthy. So no. It's I'm not saying it's fake news, but I'm saying you got to scratch at the surface here. And when you start to scratch at the surface, you realize that the market is really nice and strong for lithium.
Great. And was there anything you'd like to, anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Oh, I'm pumped to put out results on Mirage.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Killian, I want to thank you for sharing some insights into these new additions to the portfolio, and I look forward to the results in the coming months. This is the Junior Explorer signing off.